Whoever is online, Om. Good evening. Wherever you are, kindly see if you can sit straight. Feel the body. How the body feels in this moment. How is the breathing? If there is a rush in the breathing, you can inhale a little deeper. With every inhalation, you inhale a little deeper and let go. Have an idea of relaxing when the breath is going out. Again, inhale a little deeper and relax in the exhalation. When you do this a few times, the rush in the breathing will reduce. Then you take a deep inhale and gradual, controlled, complete exhale. Relax your abdomen and inhale and relax. Feel the straight posture of the body, neck and head in the straight line, the torso, neck and head in the straight line. Relaxed in the shoulders, in your palms, in your fingertips. Relax in the abdominal muscles. Relaxed in your legs and toes. But the posture is straight. The effort is in your hip to keep your body up. Or if you have a back support in your chair, that keeps your body up. Do not support your head. If you are taking the help of a back support, do not support your head. If you can sit even without back support, that's even better. If you are on a chair, the feet can be down or gently crossed down, or sitting cross-legged in your cushion or sofa. If you are sitting on a proper mat on the floor, that's excellent. Just enjoy the way you are sitting straight with minimal effort. The sensations of this moment right now, the voice that you hear, the air around your body, any other sounds that you might hear, the quality of the breathing. Just remain in the presence now while we chant the Shanti mantra. Sahana bhavatu, Sahanau bhunaktu, Sahaviryangkaravavagai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavagai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. For today's discussion, I received a question asking the difference between nirvana and moksha. We will explore that a little bit and go to other things if there are no other questions. Nirvana, the word comes from Sanskrit, is used in our Shastra also, but current practice, in the current scenario, after the advent of Buddhism, the word nirvana is almost exclusively used by the Buddhists. So if somebody says nirvana, it is usually connected to Buddhism. Nirvana means to put an end to extinguish, to clear away, to blow away. Basically, to remove all that can be removed in our field of experience. In this context, the causes and conditions that create the cycle of suffering or dukkha. Now, that is not unique to Buddhism. It is actually a Sankhya concept. If we look at the Sankhya Sutras, one of the 6 worldviews, the Astika worldviews, one of the 6 is called Sankhya, Purusha, Prakriti, and all that. In that, the enquiry starts like this: Dukkhatraya abhigata jigyasa tat apakatake hetau. The one who is desirous of knowing the way to put an end to the permanent end to the threefold suffering. Dukkhatraya is Adi Bhautika, Adhyatmika, Adi Daivika. The difficulties arising from one's own self, from one's environment, and from divine causes or unknown causes. The 3 types of dukkha that one experiences before, one who experiences now, or could possibly experience in the future. So, how to put an end to the entire thing? So, the inquiry into that is the Sankhya philosophy. So, that is exactly the source of Buddhism. Lord Buddha learned from the experts of Sankhya, and from there he formulated his own thing. He got rid of the. After Lord Buddha, actually nobody knows what Lord Buddha taught, except a few meditation techniques and all that. The rest is all just guesswork from the Pali Sutras. And because within 200 years of Lord Buddha's passing away, I hear that there were some 200 schools of Buddhism or something like that. So the problem came from interpreting his silence. Probably that's what they say. So nirvana is a kind of a object centered way of describing liberation. Absence of the causes and conditions that create dukkha. Okay, so that is nirvana. Moksha is a more individual or the subject centered way of seeing liberation. That's how I understand it. Moksha for who? Moksha from what? For who? Right? So the one who looks for moksha is called a mumukshu, the one who is desirous of liberation. So moksha is essentially a Vedic concept, a term used in Vedanta, in all the Vedic darshanas, and in all the various schools of interpretation of Vedanta. Dvaita, Advaita, Visishtadvaita. So based on the understanding, there is a definition of moksha, Siddhanta, Vaishnava Siddhanta, Shaiva Siddhanta. So each school tells moksha is this and that. And Sri Shankaracharya, Sri Adi Shankaracharya brings out the true intended teachings of the Shruti, the Upanishad. So he did not start teaching in order to refute some other school. His intent was to bring out the actual true teachings of the Shastra. What the Shastra wants to teach you. So to bring that out was Sri Adi Shankaracharya's endeavor, and he succeeded to a great extent. And whatever we have now, all thanks goes to him. Otherwise, we would be a Buddhist country like Thailand. So then we had Vishishtadvaita. Advaita, Dvaita, Madhvacharya, and then there is some Kevala Advaita, and there is some other thing else called Shiva Advaita, something else called Achintya Bheda Abheda. Like that, there are various schools, and then there is this. So they all have written bhashyas and commentaries and all that. So I will deal with the Advaitic. The problem is when you say that this school, that school interpretation, then it becomes an academic endeavor. So there is not a true inquiry into the reality. It becomes more of upholding your school. Upholding your school is not important. The school is there to serve a purpose. So reality is more important than the school. So that's how we understand it. And from the way I look around, the reality, uncompromising inquiry into the reality, I seem to find only in the Shankara Advaita Parampara, and to some extent in the Nath sects and all that, but not in the rest of them. They stop at a point and then they kind of beat around the bush so that they don't go deeper than that. This is my understanding. Of course, they can able to see how to refute the other school. So I'm not going into that. But moksha is centered on the individual. Moksha means to become free. To become free means presupposes the person who is bound. While the word nirvana is very impersonal, but moksha is very personal. That's why it is a purushartha. Purushartha means a goal or a target to be achieved, to be something to be attained for the individual. Purushartha. Like we have dharma, values, artha, wealth and security, kama, pleasures, and we have moksha. Then the entire discussion about how moksha is different from the rest and all that is there. But it is always presented as a purushartha for the individual. While nirvana is more centered on the causes and conditions and the experience of dukkha and putting an end to the experience of dukkha. For who is the dukkha is not, is part of the question, and the way they deal with that is they remove the presence of the self also. The whole problem is because of the self and the individuality, the limited sense of self. The self itself is maintained because of the causes and conditions. Like that it goes, the whole thing. And so there's the no self, experiencing of the no self. Who experiences, they will not say. They just call it as the unconditioned state. So if you go into what they call as proto-Buddhism in the Pali Canon, they say there is a way of telling that, if there is something called as the unconditioned. Without the unconditioned, the conditioned cannot exist. And the word used for the unconditioned by Lord Buddha, apparently, according to the Pali Canon, from what I heard from a friend of mine who is into all this Buddhist research, it seems Lord Buddha has used the word Brahman. And the Buddhists will not be very vocal about it, because then it becomes a problem. They will have to, make peace with the Vedic people, so that they don't want, because maintaining their identity is more important than the truth. Yeah. They talk about karma, reincarnation, everything. All the knowledge is borrowed from the Vedic tradition, but somehow they call themselves as Nasti. They will say that, we came to know about all this from the Buddha and all that. They don't go into all that. They will usually take a side track and talk about, let us bother about what is bothering us now. Let us bother about how to put an end to the human suffering, love and compassion and things like this. They will take you on a side track. They will not go deep into it. But that's how it is, because that's how you run the show. If you go deep into everything, you will end up with Advaita. Anything you take it to the end, you will end up with Advaita and you will end up with Atma. But the problem is, once you are stuck with a school, then you don't want to take it to its take any query to its logical end. You want to, Pusi Murgirthi, we say in Tamil, after a certain point, you just want to beat around the bush and somehow compromise your logic and then just stay on a point so that you don't challenge it too much. You don't challenge your conditions and your fundamentals too much so that the show goes on. So that's how it is. Coming back to nirvana versus moksha, from a higher understanding as a goal, if you see what nirvana points to and what word moksha points to are essentially the same. Okay, rising above Vaidika, Buddhist, and all these differences from the standpoint of truth, the ultimate end, because the nirvana is sometimes used in Shastra also as Brahma Nirvanam, the word is used. So, both actually mean the same thing, but the way of talking about it is different. The Buddhists talk about it in a different way because they want to be stuck with their Anatmavada. And they say we don't bother about the Supreme Self, we are only bothered about the limited self, the functional, experienceable self, and bringing an end to it and exploring the reality of it. So, what we call as a mithya, you know, the mithya atma, in the sense, the wrong, the false sense of self that arises because of adhyasa or superimposition. That is what they call as atma, and they say it does not exist, anatma. It does not exist. The self is only uh, an illusion that is created because of codependent origination, pratitya samutpada. There is one theory. There's a huge thing there. Then there are various schools in Buddhism. So I'm not going into the philosophical part, but the end nirvana, when they talk about, is basically complete end of the individuality, along with the karmas, vasanas, the desires, and and the body and everything put together. Total eraser of the individuality. What remains after is the great, they say, mahashunya, the great void or whatever. Basically, because they prefer not to talk about it. This is the problem, the root of the problem. I remove the problem, then you're free. That's it, right? So that gives rise to all the issues, philosophical issues for an individual who is still living as a individual. The one who is a normal functioning individual. When you talk about something that lies beyond the individual, that in which the individual exists, but that which cannot be experienced by the individual. When we are talking about that, the great beyond, that has to make sense for the individual. So this is where the problem comes. It has to become a meaningfulness. Then the individual will ask, if everything comes to an end, what is the point? See, I am coming to spirituality because I am in trouble. I realize that as a mumukshu, the one who wants to liberate oneself from the cycle of suffering, right? This is the person who comes to the teacher. Who comes to the teacher? The one who is tormented by the fire of samsara, the one who is suffering the pangs of samsara, the one who is constantly in the cycle of need, drive, goal, and the struggle of karma and klesha, suffering from all the kleshas that is arising out of karma. So this wheel of karma, the birth and death and all that, the one who has recognized the suffering comes to the teacher to solve this problem once and for all. If I have a headache, I take some painkiller and the headache goes. If I have a stomach pain, I take some other tablet, it goes. If I have an infection, I take antibiotic, it goes. To some extent, if I am very disturbed, I take a few deep breaths and some meditation, it comes down. or in a worst case scenario, I take some psychiatric tablet and it comes down. I don't have sleep, then I take some azepam and I get a good sleep. So I have been quick fixing my problems all my life. Okay. Uh, I see that there is a regular need for food, clothing, and shelter. So I started creating the problem of accumulating wealth. Then there is anxiety of losing what I have, so I accumulate wealth for the future. Then there is somebody else who is jealous of what I have. He wants to come and steal my stuff. So I create law enforcement. Like that, if you see, we have created a huge web of samsara to take care of our needs and desires that arise from time to time in a context of a sustainable way of living, where I will be able to ensure my tomorrow's need and desires also. And then some entertainment, some fancy, some pleasures, etc. Right? So this is how I am as an individual. Then I see that this way of living, of constantly going behind, uh, you know, uh, wealth and pleasures and experiences and taking care of the needs as they arise, maybe a little bit of uh, serving others, taking care of others, selfless service and things like this, some dharmic values. It's all there, but then I see that that is not enough to give me a lasting peace or happiness. I see that uh, dharma here also means Vaidika karma, but I am coming as talking as a common man discussion. Artha and kama, wealth, pleasures. If I am smart enough, if I have lived my life intelligently and fully in an alert way with good attention, I will recognize that my temporary solutions only feed the machine that promotes suffering. It is not actually solving the problem. It is only putting me more and more into deeper and deeper cycles of problem. I will be able to see that if I am smart enough. If I don't see that, that means I am an idiot. I am not smart. This is called viveka, right? So if I am not able to see dukkha in life, life is wonderful. There is no dukkha. We should enjoy more and more life. Please go ahead. Don't waste my time until you can recognize the fundamental problem of life as suffering. That is why it seems Lord Buddha said, I heard this from one Buddhist monk's lecture. So I have not studied Buddhist literature. I learned from a Buddhist monk's lecture. He says, a recognition of suffering is 50% liberation. It seems Lord Buddha said that in some sutra. So, problem definition. I understand there is dukkha, and I see that there is a cause for dukkha. And then there is a method for, there is a way to become free from dukkha. That is what the teacher says. I recognize dukkha, I want to be free from it. Let me become free from dukkha. Dukkhatraya abhigata jignasa tat avakatake hetu. Right? The same thing. When we talk about moksha, the person who wants moksha is a mumukshu. Who is a mumukshu? Moksham me bhruyat iti ichha. The one who has the desire that may I attain liberation. From what? Liberation from samsara. So the concept of samsara is the same for the nirvana people and also for the moksha people. But as an individual, when I am coming to the teacher, I have a goal. I am suffering and I want to be free from the suffering. Right? So if I am giving him a concept called nirvana, why should that nirvana be interesting for me? So I have to sell nirvana to you. I have to make nirvana interesting for you, right? So I say, if you tell me attain for nirvana, I'll say, okay, what do I get from nirvana? Oh, you will be free from all my sufferings. Ah, okay, then I'll go for nirvana. But if the fellow tells me, oh, it basically, nirvana basically means complete suicide. See, I am having some fun at least, in the middle of all my terrible earthly life. Once in a while, I have some fun. Now you are giving me nirvana and you are making me commit suicide. So I should come to an end. And I can get scared. Like what is this? What is the point of nirvana? Hey, I am coming to you to solve the problem, and you are telling me better die. If you die, there won't be any problem. That's what basically the word nirvana means. So for a normal person, it doesn't make sense unless I say that nirvana is some kind of a state. Beyond that, you will not understand. But in the state of nirvana, there will be no problem. That's how you will have to tell for the individual. So then what happens? Nirvana equal to freedom from suffering, equal to moksha. Moksha is what? Freedom from suffering. Freedom from uh, liberation is what? Liberation from what? The person was, they say, no, women's liberation. The women's liberation, what are they liberated from? They are liberated from the various structures of oppression in the society and all that they talk about. Yeah, liberation. So he is a liberated individual. Means what? He doesn't have any. He's a socially liberated individual. The person doesn't have any sense of constraints or mental restrictions, and does not succumb to the various restrictive practices in the society that surrounds him. So that's a liberated individual. So liberation is always from something. So my liberation, my moksha is moksha from various kinds of problems that I experience, various kind of limitations. But as I inquire into the source of all the suffering, then I find that all that is attained by effort in time will be temporary. So, within the realm of cause and effect, and within the realm of experienceable goals, in the world that I know, there is no permanent solution. I only hear from the Shastra that the one who knows Brahman crosses the ocean of sorrow. I have heard that. And because I have studied something, I have heard that. I heard from the Upanishad, but somehow it doesn't make sense. Somehow I don't understand. How is it possible? It is not within the realm of what I already know, what I can do something and get something, but no matter what I do and get, I am going to lose it at some point. Even if I do some special Vedic rituals and homas, yajnas and big mantra japa and everything, upasana, and go to Brahmaloka, even then, when my spiritual merit prepaid card is over, I will have to reincarnate again. So even that is temporary. If you read Yoga Vasishta, there is a text called Yoga Vasishta. In that, Lord Rama goes into a kind of a despondency, in a kind of a depression. It goes into a very deep contemplative worry, and becomes totally withdrawn. And then Sage Vasishta is sent to talk to him to see what happened to the prince. And then Sage Vasishta goes and discusses it with him. And then the entire teaching, that is called Yoga Vasishta. Okay. So in that, Rama says, even Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, they are all going to experience death. When everything is temporary, then what is the point? What am I working for? So that was his question. This is what is discussed in Mundaka Upanishad. Beautifully, the person who comes to the teacher with a well-prepared, thought-over question, who is that person? Which person seeks the teacher of enlightenment? Who is that person? He says, the Mundaka Upanishad says, the one who has analyzed the various worlds of experiences, all that he has experienced, the things that he can experience, and the various attainments that are possible for him through various efforts. He has analyzed the true nature of all that, and he has awakened to their limitation. And this is a very disciplined person who has lived a disciplined life and has a mind that is already, that is sharp enough and refined, and the mind that is not carried away by fleeting pleasures and compulsions. The mind that is above compulsions, a disciplined mind that has resulted from living a very uh, scripturally oriented, disciplined, religious, uh, meditative, and intense, deep kind of a life, which has prepared his mind in a good quality. The one who is of a good quality mind, resulting from a disciplined life, analyzes the various possibilities that exist for him in this world and the world of after death, sees that none of these various temporary, this time oriented, time bound results make sense. Nirveda Maya, right? So he is not interested. He loses interest in all those various attainments because he understood that that which is not created, that which is that which cannot be attained through action, that which is not a result of action, that which is eternal, that which is not temporary, that which is not limited, that which is unlimited, cannot be attained with action. Then how to get it, right? So in order to know how to attain that which is not the result of any action, he goes and surrenders to a guru, serves that guru with the attitude of readiness to serve, Samit Panihi, with the attitude of readiness to serve. Whatever he knows, he has only that. When a child goes, when a child offers you something, it will have one half-eaten broken sweet. The child will. It wants to give you something. I saw a video where uh, this this individual has some cookies in a plane, and the kid in the back seat will ask for the cookie. So he will give the cookie. It will take the cookie, but it wants to give him something. The child in return, the child has one soft toy, little soft toy. So he will extend that soft toy for him as a return gift, or he will give a bottle of water. His Juta bottle of water, which he has already drunk a little bit. Right? He will offer that. So that's what the child knows. I have this, so I'll give you. If you train an owl, you feed and take care of an owl, the owl will go and bring you and give you, offer you some dead rat, squirrels, and all that, because that's what the owl knows. So it thinks, you are his mate, and then he wants to give you as a gift. He's very happy with you. The owl wants to give you some gifts. Same thing, if you feed some stray cat, the cat will catch some bird or some rat or something, and then he will come and put at your feet, because he wants to give you also. So as a ignorant, normal, simple person, he knows only karma. So this individual who is going to the guru, all his life he has been busy doing yajnas and everything. So whatever he has, he thinks the guru is also is a traditional person. So he collects some fire sticks. This is a constant problem to collect firewood, especially the twigs required for homa. It has to be specific kind of twig. Should be clean, and it should be without the bugs in that and all that. It should not be half rotten. So it should be. It's quite a job to collect the proper samit. Samit means that twigs that they use for doing fire rituals, homas. So it's quite a job. So he brings a bunch of curated, nice, good quality samit, and bring samit panihi in his hand with some samit that he has collected. He comes. It's a gesture. It's a gesture that readiness to serve. Like in Chinese kung fu movies, they show, the student makes, okay. If the teacher says, make my tea, and the student is very happy. It means he has been accepted as a student. So the student makes some tea and serves the teacher. So the teacher takes the tea from the student. That means he has accepted him as a student. So like that, our guy goes with Samit, the fire sticks for the Homa ritual. And then that shows basically the readiness to serve and learn and submission. It's a sign of submission. So he goes there and allows the guru to mold him. Then while serving him, after serving him, when the guru is in a good mood, he asks him the well thought over when the guru is pleased with his service and he says, okay, he sees that this fellow is now ready to learn, then with the permission, he asks the very well thought over question about this. Adhihi Bhagavo Brahmeti. Please teach me what is this Brahma? What is this Brahman? Please teach me about Brahman. He asks about that. Atma Vishaya, he says, what is this self? No, the Shastra says this. Can you please teach me how it is, how to attain that? Like that, he asks. Or I want to be liberated. Is there a way for any liberation from this? Is there a permanent solution at all? Then the Guru gives him an assurance. Yes, there is a permanent solution. It is very easy. It is closer than it gives you first. He gives the student first what is called as a paroksha jnana, indirect way of telling it. There is something called Brahman, and if you attain, it is attainable by everybody. And if you attain that, all your sufferings can come to an end. There is a way out. He promises that. Tarati Shokam Atmavid, the one who knows the self will cross the ocean of suffering. Then the guru and the disciple is relaxed. Good. So now I can attain that. Now how to go about it? Then the entire teaching begins. And moksha is conveyed first, and moksha is first understood as something that is to be discovered in knowledge. So through the initial inquiry, what happens? The student becomes aware that whatever this liberation is, it is not the result of action. So it has to be of the nature of knowledge. I have to understand something. It is about myself, then I am already that. But I am not seeing what I am, so I have to understand what I am. What is my true nature? How is it that I am eternal and untouched and I am, how is it that if liberation is my true nature, if I am eternally free, see, by knowing myself, I will be free. That means freedom must be something inherent in my nature. Somewhere something doesn't fit. How? Because all our life we are used only to doing some action, seeing some result, and we call it as attainment in time and effort. We always put effort in time, we attain something. This is what we know. We are not used to that also, something so huge like eternal liberation, eternal life, amritatvam and all that. It looks like huge, impossible. It's like infinite. And you are telling me that. So my tendency is to think that it requires phenomenal, tremendous effort. But then you tell me that it is not the result of effort. And it must be already that. But I don't experience myself as anything that is infinite. I am this little small fellow, so much height. If I define myself with the body, if I see myself through what I already know, then my knowledge is very limited. Even a small weaver bird knows how to make its own house, but I need to hire 100 guys to make my little house that is badly constructed. So if I see mentally I am limited, physically I am limited, energetically I am limited, knowledge wise I am limited, perception wise I am limited. A dog can see much more frequencies and colors than I do. So then I see, then how come I am infinite? I don't get it. And then I go to the teacher to ask. Then the teacher guides me through the proper methodology of teaching, step by step, for me to discover my true nature by first deconstructing all the wrong ideas about myself and reconstructing my true identity, my true nature. All right. This through various methodologies like Anvaya Vetireka and all that. Okay. Adhyaropa Apavada and all these things. So various what they call as prakriyas, the methods of teaching, etc. Right. So this is what it's. So the moksha makes sense as a goal for me as an individual. Moksha is for me because the whole quest is by me and it has to make sense for me. So we use the word in our Shastra, we use the word as moksha because it is for the individual. The individual may discover that I am not this individual anymore. That comes later. But when the teaching starts, it starts for the individual, right? So we call it as Tula Arundhati Nyaya. Means for showing the Arundhati star in the sky, during the Indian marriages, Vedic marriages, uh, the wife is showed, the husband shows to the wife the Arundhati star, supposed to show. Now it is done like an empty ritual, but originally it is supposed to show. So you show that the constellation and then say that you show the Arundhati star. You start from the gross thing and go to the subtle. You see that tree there, and above the tree on the right side, you see that huge constellation of stars. Yeah, from there to the slightly go rightward, you see a small constellation with so many stars. It looks like a box, and then yes, yes, yes. Now in that little arm jetting out of that box-like thing, you see that there is a bright star towards the end. Yes, keep looking at that star. Now, do you see a little small star next to it? That is Arundhati. So you are taking from a bigger to smaller, grosser object to a subtler object, gradually taking your perception to the subtler and subtler reality, subtler and subtler truth. So similarly, starting with the individual and the various construct around the individual as the body, individual as the sensations, individual as the mind thoughts, the individual made of ideas, the individual made of the ego structures and as the experiencer and all that. And you slowly, gradually take him to the subtler and show him the various kinds of individuality, and then you are bringing the attention to question the very fundamental construction of the individuality, the how of individuality, how and whence of individuality, from where the individuality arises. And then you attack the very core of the sense of I itself. And then that I is liberated from the various assumptions it has on itself. The individual is liberated from the various assumptions he has assumed about himself. And also you are talking about the cause of all things, and you remove the duality between the individual and the world and the Ishvara, the individual and the Ishvara, between things and different things. So the basic duality of this experienced world is resolved through the Advaitic realization, through the teaching that ends in Advaitic realization, where the self alone exists and nothing else exists. So that is liberation of the self, in the sense, liberation of the self from individuality. You can say it's a way of saying to the individual before liberation. It is a way of conveying the idea to the bound individual as a goal to be attained in knowledge, so that the individual who is the result of ignorance subjects oneself to the process by which the ignorance is removed and the experience of bondage comes to an end. So, which is nirvana. Coming to the end of the experience of bondage is nirvana along with the experiencer. But this goal as presented to the individual is moksha from the cycle of suffering. So that's how we understand moksha and nirvana. But I would prefer the word moksha for the sake of a person who is seeking solution to the problem called life, seeking a permanent solution, because it is moksha, freedom from suffering for the individual. Because that's what the individual can understand. And it prevents possibilities for misinterpretation. And you don't come to this conclusion that because you know that you don't cease to exist after the problem is solved. I want to solve the problem because I want ananda. Ananda is a goal that everybody can understand. I am always seeking ananda, but somehow ananda is elusive. Happiness is elusive. So I am talking about permanent happiness. So that's what I will understand. That's what makes sense to me. So why should I go and find something that does not make sense, that does not involve me? If I am not going to be there, what is the problem? Where is the motivation for me to have an interest in that? There is going to be a great party. Yeah, but you will not be there. Okay, so what is the point? So nirvana is, as a goal, doesn't make a point. Doesn't make sense, because nirvana doesn't involve me. It is a great void. So I'm not going for void. I'm here to solve my problem, because these problems are putting a break in my experiencing of ananda, because I'm constantly seeking ananda. I only have to understand this normal ananda won't do, because it is not real ananda. Where is the source of ananda? So I am going to that. So we say uh, uh, normal Vishayananda and all that, and then we say Brahmananda. Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim, like that we see. So the word Brahmananda is used. Moksha, Brahmananda, right? Uh, these words are used because it makes sense to the individual as a Purushartha, so that one can commit oneself to the process and realize it. Though the process is very different from the usual time bound achievements that we are familiar with, it is facilitated. The understanding is facilitated through a very systematic method of teaching that we have. And for the sake of telling, we can say the individual attains moksha. But because of this individual attaining moksha concept, this moksha as a purushartha has given rise to certain fallacies. There is something called krama mukti. There is a concept of instant liberation, jivan mukti, liberated while you are alive. And then there is a concept of gradual moksha. It is like like a slingshot method, they say, like for a satellite. So like that, from here I go to a better orbit and a better orbit, and then I get out. So like that, I am, I am right now in the Bhuloka, and from here I do some special efforts and everything, and I go to Brahmaloka. And in Brahmaloka, if I go to Brahmaloka, until the cycle of creation comes to an end, I will not reincarnate. So it is something like a temporary, permanent, semi-permanent freedom from reincarnation. Okay, that's relatable. And I can do something. I have stuff to do. I have to do so many thousand lakh repetitions of this mantra. Then I have to do this upasana. Then I have to open my Sushumna Nadi. I have a lot of targets that I can work with. That's what I know to do. I'm a donkey. I know to keep working. So I am given a lot of things to do, and then I keep working on that. And at the time of death also, I have a job to do. I have to sit in Padmasana, take the prana upwards, and then take it in a certain trajectory, and then go to Brahmaloka. Then I attain Brahmaloka after death through the path of light, Devayana. I attain Brahmaloka after death. And then in Brahmaloka, I will be given the teaching of the self. And because Brahmaloka is all perfect, it's like the perfect college of enlightenment. So the best teacher of the universe, the best conditions, there is no hunger, thirst, etc. And a mind that is completely ready for application. So there, when Lord Brahmaji teaches you, you will realize self, that they say. But then what the serious teachers say, that even in Brahmaloka, there is a possibility that you will not understand. Because what is required for understanding is not just a disciplined mind and the conditions and the very comfortable AC room. What is required for understanding is Advaita Vasana. You need to have that aptitude of your intellect for understanding the truth about the self. If that aptitude is not cultivated here, why would it be cultivated there? It will not come. So, cultivate it here. Always aspire for Jivan Mukti. Don't bother about Kama Mukti. That is what the serious teachers will tell you. But this concept of moksha has given rise to something like this, right? So then they say, okay, it is for dull people of dull intellect. Let that fellow have something at least instead of nothing. And then so that you increase the possibility of him developing that Advaita Buddhi, that that Advaita Vasana to develop. You somehow you put him on a track that increases the possibility for the person to develop a better state of mind, that in which realization can be facilitated, they say. And then it has given rise, this is in the Advaita school itself. Then we have other schools like, where they say that you go to Vrindavan, Golok Vrindavana, and then you are there all the time. playing with Lord Krishna, that is one school. Another say you go to Kailasha, remain with Lord Shiva. And then there are various levels of attainment within the realm of Lord Shiva, within the realm of Lord Vishnu. You go to that Loka Vaikuntha Prapti, and then you are always enjoying the company of the Lord. That is their definition of moksha. But for a true seeker of liberation, this will not make sense, because from the Shastra we know Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva also, Lord Rudra, Vishnu, they also experience death at the end of Kalpa. So that experience also is not a permanent thing. Like that, it goes on and on. So the concept of liberation from birth and death leads to this concept of liberation from birth and death by logging into some other loka from where you will not come back to earth. But Shastra says, Kshine Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti. Once your prepaid card is over, you will come back to earth. Punya card, prepaid card is over, you will come back to earth. That's what it says. So even in Brahmaloka, only Brahmagyana will liberate you. That's what the teaching says. But at the outset, if you see the concept of the word moksha, it does have given rise to, it did give rise to a lot of confusions and there is no little nirvana, big nirvana. It's either nirvana or and that way that will, while moksha some other philosophical krama moksha and all these kind of various levels of moksha, all these problems are there. So that's about these words moksha. And the goal is to realize it here and now while we are alive, and for that is needed is the right aptitude of right orientation, the right aptitude. It is called Advaita Vasana. And Ishvara Anugraha Deva Pumsam Advaita Vasana. This Advaita Vasana will come. It will come only by grace of this Advaitic knowledge, who lives this knowledge, Brahmanishta, give Advaitic knowledge. Regular study, Shastra, Shravanam, Vedanta Shravanam, listen to Vedanta over a period of time can give Advaita Vasana. When it is combined with system everyday experiences, questioning our experiences, the experiences in our everyday life, validity of our various other aims and goals. Ask little questions about life and about as an individual. Questioning my individuality self, and I'm what I try to into that more. So you are not what questioning the Zen Buddhism. They always put one hand. What is the light that sees darkness? Like that, we have what is called Zen koan. Can create a philosophical inquiry that will simply discover falseness of something. So that kind of questioning should become a habit. Spend some time alone sitting without sensory excitements, some reasonable level of comfort that does. And at the same time, you are not constantly struggling to, you know, ease your pain of your limbs. Like, your leg is paining, knee is paining, back is paining. You don't have to sit like that. There is no pain in the body, but at the same time, you need to stay somewhat alert and a little committed so that you maintain that posture. like we were discussing in the beginning of this class about sitting straight. And it should not be too comfortable so that you can fall asleep. That's why we don't support the head, even if you support the back. If you can sit without supporting the back and head, even better, right? Without supporting the back and head and without pain. So if you are an old person, if you have a low back problem, you cannot sit straight without support, then please take support. But let the support be only until your middle back to keep you upright and not for the entire shoulders and head. So like that, each one has to find their own comfortable posture. Sit facing either north or west, preferably north, and just think. Take up a take up take up a situation that gets you very involved, gets you very worked up, and investigate into that sense of self that is involved in the situation. The sense of identity and the self that is involved in the situation that gets triggered. There is a certain aspect of your ego that gets triggered in a situation. Now, instead of questioning the situation, as a normal person, what we do, we only question the situation. We only look for solutions to get rid of the situation. This is what we know. But I'm asking you to do something else. What you do, you question the construct of your individuality that is affected by that situation. You don't question the situation. You take the situation as given. Something is disturbing you, or something is making you whatever. Instead of trying to alter that experience, the object of the experience, you focus on the nature of you as the one who is affected by that experience, either positively or negatively, and you question the validity of yourself as an individual. You try to very keenly observe how your individuality operates in that situation, how the triggering happens, how your involvement begins and comes to an end, how your involvement is begins, how your involvement is sustained, what sustains your involvement in that experience, and how that involvement in the experience comes to an end. you know just investigate it in your awareness. Just keep looking at it, completely accepting it as it is, but with an intention to understand. Stay with it. Like that, spend a few minutes every day, like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It's called contemplation, vichara, right? So it's very different from doing japa, or arriving at a state of mind. You are not trying to arrive at anything, but you are trying to understand what is. So this kind of practice, when combined with divine grace, that is the result of all your other practices like japa, and the company of the masters, the satsanga of someone who is devoted to the teachings of Vedanta, both in practice and in study and in lifestyle. One who appreciates and owns up that knowledge for his or her own self. So that person, Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. So at least we see that this person is more devoted to the Advaitic aspect, and he recommends that there is a talk about that Katanam, that Chintanam, that Anyonya Prabodhanam. They say, the discussion about the Atma, about Brahman, about the timeless, the eternal, this kind of atmosphere, Advaita. So spending time in that kind of atmosphere frequently, when combined with this inquiry, that things that I said, and listening to some teachings from Upanishads, etc., combined with some kind of a Ishvara Upasana, Nishkamya Ishvara Upasana, meditating on the Lord with no personal time-bound worldly goals, not praying for this and that. Instead, meditating and doing japa on the Lord for the sake of blessing you with Advaita Vasana, for the sake of blessing you with readiness to moksha. In this combination, when we do, definitely, if there is no Advaita Vasana yet, definitely it will come in a reasonable period of time in this life itself. One doesn't have to wait for a better life. Now is the time to inquire into the nature of bondage and to the method by which one can become free from bondage and realize one's true nature as the eternal, absolute, supreme being. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Thank you.